Hi there, I'm Richard. Welcome to today's class about financial management. This is lecture number 2. In our last class or our first class, we looked at various things in financial management. Brief recap about our last class. In our last class, we introduced you to financial management and we went through six major topics. Six major topics. We started with capital investment appraisal, weighted average, cost of capital, sources of business finance, risk management, business valuation, and working capital management. I gave you a brief summary or synopsis about these topics, and also by the side, we looked at three minor topics. Yes, we looked at three minor topics, which are the impact of fintech, okay, financial technology on finance. We looked at macro and microeconomics. We looked at Islamic finance as well. And from there, we went further by discussing. We started with our first topic about capital investment appraisal. Before that, I gave you the definition of financial management. Okay, the definition of financial management, that it is a strategic planning that has to do with the directing and controlling of a business's financial resources. It involves making informed decisions about investing, financing assets, and also how to balance risk and return for sustainability and growth. And we went further by looking at the topic number 1, which we looked at capital investment appraisal. We started looking at it. What is capital investment appraisal? That was what we looked at. And also from there, we looked at the processes of capital investment appraisal. We looked at 6 processes: forecasting capital requirement, identifying suitable project, checking all projects, choosing the best project, making investment, and also monitoring the investment. So if you missed that lecture, you can go back to my previous lecture. You'll be able to see lecture 1 on that. So I gave brief definitions on all of them, and we were able to look at how to check projects, the 4 things we use for techniques, 4 techniques we can use to check a project. 4 techniques we can use to check a project: net present value, internal rate of return, return on capital employed, and payback period. So we looked at all of those ones, and we started with technique number 1. In capital investment appraisal, we started with what? Technique number 1, which is net present value, and the decision rule about our net present value. So we looked at 3 examples. So you can go back to that lecture and have them before you continue this one if you have not watched my previous video. Thank you for today. Stay with me as we look at more examples in today's class. We are going to look at more examples in today's class. So stay tight, stay tight, stay tight. So take note, okay? Take note. So we're looking at question 1, question today. It's going to be a question. So we have a question here. Please copy the question if you can, or take note. So we have a problem here to look at. So it is saying project cost $200,000. The life of the project is 4 years. Selling price is $20 per unit. Materials $4 per unit. Labor $3 per unit. Variable overheads $1 per unit. And fixed overheads we have $5,000. We are asked to solve this problem. So whenever you are asked to solve NPV question, as we said in our last class, always make a table. Okay, so here we are going to get solution. Always have a table. So the table, you start with 0. How many years do you have? 4 years. But start with 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 here. So the first thing you start with, investment. You start with what? Investment. What is an investment? The investment here is we have $200,000. Okay, $200,000. But it needs to be negated in a bracket, because what? It is a cash outflow. So what next? Revenue. What is revenue? Remember, here you have 4 years. You have how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4. But remember, I left something out. We need to get the unit sales. Okay, here we have unit sales. Sales in units. Remember, don't leave that one out. We have, let's get, it's 10,000 units per annum. 10,000 units per annum. Okay, each year you have 10,000 units, 10,000 units, 10,000 units, 10,000 units. But what is the sales for selling price per unit? It's $20. $20. $20. This is the selling price. That's the selling price, $20. So now you have to multiply to get the revenue. The selling price per unit times the units sold. So you can see that the unit sold per annum is constant, and also the selling price per unit is the same. So you can say this is 200 here, $200, $200, $200,000 here, $200,000 here, $200,000. Remember, they are all in thousands. Okay, but we can also have them in this way, in this method, in this way. So if you have them in this way, you have to also write this one in that way. Yes, just get this one here, also 200. So you have it this way. That is the revenue. And we have labor. We have materials. The materials, it's $4 per unit. $4. So 4 throughout. So 4 at 10,000. 4 at 10,000 units. 4 at 10,000 units. What would that be? It's gonna be 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. Yes. So you have 40,000. Next is labor. Next you have labor. What is labor? Labor in the question is $3 per unit. $3. 3, 3, 3, 3. So labor is $3 per unit. 3 times 10,000. 3 times 10,000 is gonna give you 30,000. Gonna give you what? 30,000. Gonna give you 30,000, 30,000, 30,000, 30,000. Yes, you have 30,000. What is the other cost there? You have variable overheads. Yes, variable overheads is $1 per unit at 10,000 each. 10,000 throughout. This is 10,000, please. You have 10,000. Okay. So what next? You have fixed overheads. Fixed overheads. Fixed overheads. You have 5,000 per annum. So it's 5,000 per annum. Then it's 5,000. 5,000. You have 5,000. You have 5,000. Yeah. So you have these ones as the cost. After getting all the costs, your next step is to get the taxable profit. Okay. Taxable profit. You underline and get your taxable profit. So here you call it taxable profit. Taxable, it is called taxable profit. So here you still have your cash outflow, which is 200, and calculating all of these ones. When you calculate, it's going to give you 115, 101, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Okay, it's going to give you these ones. So after getting those ones, you have tax in the equation. What is tax? Tax is 30%. What is tax? This is tax. Tax is 30%. Okay, tax is what? 30%. So getting that tax, you need to calculate the value of tax. So what is tax? 30%. You can say 30% will be tax. 30%. 30% will be here. 30% of 115 times 30%. It's going to give you so 30% of 115 is going to give you 34,500. Mind you, yes, when you calculate, it's going to give you 34.5. 34.5. 34.5. 34.5. So all these ones, they are tax. So you put them in bracket. Yes, they are tax. What do you do next? So after having the taxable profit, what do you do next? You deduct the tax. So after deducting the tax, remember here there is no scrap value and everything. So you have net cash flow. The next step is to get your net cash flow, NCF. That is your net cash flow, 200. Remember, and 34,500, 115 minus 34.5. What will happen? 115 minus 34.5. This one will give you 80.5. 80.5. Yes, it's the same for everything. They are all fixed. 80.5. 80.5. 80.5. Okay, 80.5. This is what you'll get. So from there, Your next step is to get the discounting factor, DF. What's your discounting factor? Your discounting factor here is 10%. 10%. You know, a discounting factor at year 0 is always 1. And when you go to the table, which will be available to you in the exam hall, or find your present value table, year 1 at 10%, it will give you 0.909. Year 2 at 10%, it will give you 0.826. Year 3 at 10%, 0.751. Year 3 at 10%, year 4 at 10%, it will give you 0.683. Okay, so you have these ones, you have these ones. What you will do next is to multiply. You discount all the net cash flows, and when you discount, you are multiplying. Okay, so you start with this one, the present value. Now the present value here will be 200. This is 200, sorry, not 2000. Take note, please. This is what? 200. This is 200. Please take note. This is, here we have 200, not 2000. Here we have what? 200, not 2000. Take note. Okay. Yes, 200, 200. So 80, when you discount it at that amount, you're going to get 73.174. Also here at tier 2, you're going to get 66.493. Also year 3, you're going to get 60.455, and also 54.9 you're going to get. Okay, these are your present values. So next you have net present value. Next will be what? Net present value. Next will be what? Net present value. So you know, you have to net present value. How do you get net present value? Someone might ask. Net present value, we say what? We sum up all these figures, we sum them up, then we subtract the investment from them, so we can get a positive or a negative. So in this question, let's see, after solving, what will we get? We will be able to get, after doing everything, we're able to get 55022. Okay, positive. Accept the project. Remember, you can also decide to round up. Okay, you can also decide to round up these figures, so when you round them up, then your answers will be slightly different, but plus or minus, then as long as you fall within certain range, you're correct. Okay, so this is the example, the first question, number 1 for this class. But remember, take note. After taking note, let me say something. Remember also, what you're observing in this question, what you're observing in this question is that everything is constant. Okay, there's no movement. So if everything is constant, there is a short way of solving this one, very short. So instead of looking at your present value discounting factor, you can use annuity factor. All you need to do is just to get one. What do I mean? Stay with me. Just see something. So what do I mean now? We can say the investment, we have 0, 1 to what? 1 to 4. 0, 1 to 4. What's the investment? The investment is 200,000. What's the revenue? The revenue is what? 200,000 again. We have materials. What's the materials? Material is 40,000. Labor. What's the labor? Labor is what? 30,000. What is variable overheads? Variable overheads, you have 10,000. Fixed overheads. What's fixed overheads? Fixed overheads 5,000. Okay, you have all of these ones, just one column. What do you need next? You underline, and here we know that we need a taxable profit. Taxable profit, okay? Our taxable profit. So what's that taxable profit? You still bring the value of that 200,000. Here you are going to get 115 still. Your tax 30%. Tax is what? 30% tax. So 30% of 115, you still have it 3.34.5. You less, and what will you get? So you'll have a net cash flow. So next, you have a net cash flow. Next, you have a net cash flow of what? You call it NCF, net cash flow. So you still get your 200 on investment. You get your, what will this be? 80.5. This is your net cash flow. So your discounting factor, your DF, 10%. DF 10%. At your 0 is 1. So go to your annuity factor table and look at year 4, 10%. Year 4, 10%. Annuity factor, year 4, 10%. You have 3.170. 3.170. 3.170. That is what you get. 3.170. So now multiply 3.170. Then you have your present value. Still have your 200,000. 3.170 multiply by 80, 50. You have 255.185. 255.185. So just a minus 200. You have 55.185. This is what you have. So to convert it into thousand, just multiply by 1,000. 1,000. So you'll have you have 55185. Okay, 55185. So basically 55185, since because of rounding up issues and all the rest, so there is a slight difference in the answer. Okay, but it's accepted. It's quite accepted. So this is your question one. Okay, so let's take note and let us look at other questions. Okay. Okay, let's look at another question. Let's look at another question. So another question here. So we are looking at another question. Let us say question two. Question two. Take note. Take note. Question two. So this is the question. This is what the question you're looking at. This is the question you're looking at. The question says project costs $500,000. The life of the project is 5 years. Sales 5,000 units in the first year, rising by 1,000 units each year till year 5. Selling price per unit is $35. Selling price per unit is what? $35. $35 per unit, that's the selling price. Materials $4 per unit in the first year, falling by $0.5 per unit each year till year 5. Labor is $2 per unit, but variable overhead is $3 per unit. Fixed overhead is $5,000 in the first year. For first year, rising by $1,000 each year, rising by $1,000 each year. Tax rate is 30%. Discount rate is 12%. Find NPV. So always finding your NPV. Always. Hello. Always finding your NPV. What do you do? Always make a table. How many years? You have 5 years. How many years have you? You have 5 years. So start with year 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. You have 5 years. What is it first? Investment. You started with what? Investment. What is the investment? Investment is $5,000, $500,000, $500,000. That's your investment, $500,000. Okay, that is what your investment. You say revenue, revenue, and just say come here again. You show your workings. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and your units, your unit sales 5,000 units, 5,000 units, and rising by 5,000 units in the first year, rising by $1,000 each year till year 5. So this will be 6,000. This will be what? 6,000. The next one will be 7,000. The next one will be 8,000. And the year 5 will be 9,000. Okay, 9,000. What is your selling price per unit? Your selling price per unit is $35 per unit. SP is 35, 35, 35, 35, 35. It's okay. So your selling price is $35 per unit. So for year 1, 35 times 5,000, you will get 175,000. 175,000. Okay. Checking for year 2. What will you get? 210,000. Year 3, you get 245,000. Year 3, you will get 280,000, 280,000, and year 4 you get 315,000. This will be your revenue. So from revenue, where do we go next? We deduct all our expenses. Expenses for what? Materials. Expenses for one, materials. And material, remember, come here again, say materials. Materials. What is the price for materials in the first year? Yes, $4. Falling by $0.5 each year. So this will be 3.5. This will be 3. This will be 2.5. And this will be 2. Hope you understand that it was falling each year. Material was falling. So when you multiply $4 times 5,000, definitely you have, for materials you have 20,000, and the next one, $3.5 times 6,000, you'll get 21,000. 21,000. The next one, again, you get 3 times 7,000, you'll get 21,000 again. Next one, you'll get 20,000, and the last one, year 5, you'll get 18,000. You'll get what? 18,000. So after looking at that, what do you look at next? You look at labor. Okay, what is labor? Labor, look at the question. What is labor there? Labor is $2 per unit. Remember, labor is what? $2 per unit. $2 per unit. It is not rising, neither falling. So with $2 per unit for all, $2, $2, $2, $2. This is labor. Labor, $2 per unit. So Here will be 10,000. Here will be 12,000. The next one will be 14,000. The next one will be 16,000. And the last one will be 18,000. 18,000. Okay, the last one will be 18,000. What is the next cost? Definitely there is variable overhead. There is a variable overhead. What's the variable overhead? Variable overhead is $3 per unit, not rising, neither falling. So it is $3 per unit. But remember, the units do goes by 1,000. So $3 at those units. So for the first one, $3 at 5,000, you have 15,000. The next one will give you 18,000. 18,000. The next one will give you 21,000. 21,000. The next one will give you 24,000. And the next one will give you 27,000. The next one will give you 27,000. Okay, so that is variable overheads, each year, $3 each year. So what next? From variable overheads, you go to fixed overheads. $5,000 first year, rising by $1,000 each year. So have you seen that? Good. So you apply that. So fixed overheads, $5,000. So $5,000 rising by $1,000 each year. Okay. So this will be $6,000. This will be what? $7,000. This will be $8,000. And this will be $9,000. Okay, that one will be $9,000. So having reached this end, all you need to do now next is to get your taxable profit. Is there tax? Yes. So you ought to find your taxable profit. So taxable profit. So your taxable profit. What's your taxable profit? Still bring the investment, which is 500,000. So your taxable profit is after deducting your expenses from your revenue. So deducting your expenses from the revenue, here you have 7. Deducting that one in your calculation, deducting those ones. So this one will give you 120,000, 125,000, 125,000. The next one will give you 153,000, 153,000. The next one will give you 182,000, 182,000. The next one will give you year 3, year 4 will give you, year 4 will be 212,000, and year 5 will be 243,000, 243,000. These are what your taxable profit. Next, you count tax. What do you bring next? Tax. What is your tax? Tax is 30%. So 30% of what? 30% of each. The first one is going to give you 37.5 as your tax. The next one you will get 45.9. The next one you get the next one will be 54.6, and year 4 will be 63.6. Year 5 will be 72.9. This is what you get as your tax. So next you have to deduct the tax to get your net cash flow. Your net cash flow will be net cash flow, NCF. You bring your investment. What's your investment? $500,000. After taking off your tax, you will get 87.5, your net cash flow. Here you get 107.1. Here you will get 127.4. Here you will get 148.4, and lastly you will get 170.1. Okay, 170.1. This is your net cash flow. The next one, your discounting factor. The discounting factor will be 12%. So discounting factor always at year 0, it's 1. So 12%, go to your discounting table, 12%. Your present value table, 12%. It will be at year 1, 0.893. Year 2, it will be 0.797. Year 3 will be 0.712. Year 4 will be 0.636. Year 5 will be 0. Year 5 will be year 5 will be year 5 will be okay. Year 5 will be 0.67, 0.567, 0.567. Okay, so you now find your present values by this will be PV. You have your 5,000 here. Present value of this one will give you, what will be the present value? It will give you 78.1375. The next one will give you 85.3587. This one will give you 90.7088. This one will give you 94. point, that one will give you 94.382, and lastly you will get 96.4467, 96.4467, 4467. So have it this way. So your NPV now, your NPV is by adding all of these ones, adding all of them. What do? Your NPV will be what? You add all of these figures and you subtract your investment. So after doing that, you'll be left with your NPV will be 54.968. Okay, that will be your NPV, or you can say 54,968. Okay, dollars. That's your NPV. It is positive. So what do? You accept the project. So far we have done 2 questions in today's class. So take note and see. Take note. So okay, let's look at further questions. Yo, my lines are getting better. So let's look at further questions. So we have a question here that has a different approach. Okay, different approach. Oh. So take note. So this is a question. It is saying project costing $400,000. The life is 4 years. Sales is 10,000 units per year in the first 2 years. Then you have 15,000 units per year in the last 2 years. Selling price is $30 per unit. Materials $5 per unit. Labor $4 per unit in year one, rising by $1 per unit till year four. Variable overheads $4 per unit. Fixed overheads you have $6,000 per year. Tax is what? What is tax? Tax is 30% and discounting factor is 10%. Find the NPV under the following assumptions. Under what? The following assumptions. 1. Tax is paid in same year as profit. 2. Tax is paid in arrears. So this is the question. So always when doing NPV, always what? When doing an NPV question, you make a table, know how many years is required. You have 4 years. Okay. So how many years? You have how many years? 4 years. So you make a table starting with what? Year 0, 0. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you start with initial investment. You have the, what is the investment? The investment is $400,000. Don't forget, what is the investment? The investment is $400,000. Have the investment this way. Another one. Next, you think about your revenue. How do you get revenue? Revenue always is a selling price per unit. What is it? Selling price per unit multiplied by the units sold in that particular period. So here we have 10,000 in the first 2 years, and the last 2 years we have 15,000. What is the selling price per unit? Selling price per unit is 30 throughout, 30 for all of them. Okay, so if that's the case, 30 for all of them. So in first year, what will be the selling price? 30,000 times $30 times 10,000 units. $30 times 10,000 units. So that one will give us $300,000 for year one. $300,000. How about year two? Remember, both of them are fixed. You're gonna get 300,000 again. Then when we go to year four, what will be it? Year 3 and 4, 15,000 at 30. This one will give you 450,000, not 45,000. To give you what? 450,000. What will it give to you? 450,000. 450,000. So this will be 450,000. This one as well, 450,000. These are what? Your revenues. The next one you go to, you look at is labor. Remember labor. Remember for labor is $4 per unit in first year, rising by $1 per unit till year four. So this is $4 year one, 5, 6, 7, $4 per unit, rising by $1 for the subsequent years. Now, say labor, that is, oh, 1 minute, 1 minute. This was selling price, not materials. Take note. Selling price. This was what? Selling price. Remember, this is what? Revenue. Yes, we have labor. Okay, let's have labor there. But we have materials. We should consider materials first. So what is materials? Material is $5. $5 throughout. Okay. So we say materials. What do we say? Materials. What do we say? What do we have with us? Materials. $5 per unit. It is just fixed. Materials. $5 per unit. So in our first year, we got 10,000. 5 at 10,000 is going to be 50,000 now. 50,000. 50,000. The same here. So 5 at 15. The next one is going to be 75,000. Okay. 75,000. Good. Now we can get labor. $4 rising by $1 each year. So labor will be, what will be labor? Labor for this year will be 4 times 10,000 to be 40,000. Rising, this will be 50,000. And the other one, $6 at 15. $6 at 15 to be 90,000. And at $7 at 15 again to be 105,000. So give you 105,000. Okay. So you got these ones. What next? Is there any other expenses? Yes, definitely. There is what? Variable overheads. Variable overheads. What is variable overheads? $4 per unit. Okay, $4 per unit. So this will be again 40,000. Yeah, 40,000. So $4 at 15. $4 at 15,000. This will give you 60,000. This will give you what? 60,000. What will this give to you? 60,000. This will give you 60,000. This will give to you what? 60,000. Okay. The next thing you got is fixed overheads. The fixed overhead is saying $6,000 per annum. So fixed overhead, you bring what? It's fixed $6,000 per annum. 6,000 throughout. 6,000 throughout. 6,000 throughout. 6,000. So hope you have seen these fixed overheads. This is a fixed overhead. Okay, $6,000 per annum. So you just have to insert that rapidly. And fix overheads, fix overheads. Okay, that's the fix overheads. So now what next? After getting those ones, what next? What next? So after getting those ones, your next step is to get your taxable profit. These are your taxable profit next, because there is tax. So taxable profit. So taxable profit, you still bring the worth of your investment. Okay, $400,000. Still bring the worth of your investment. Then you can now calculate your taxable profit: 300,000 minus 50,000 minus 40,000 minus 40,000 again minus 6,000. This one will give to you 164,000. 164,000. Okay, 164,000. What next over there? Over there seems to be the same. Gold label was rising, so it's not the same. 300,000 minus 50,000 minus 50,000 minus 40,000 minus 6,000. So this one gives you 154,000. It gives you 219,000. Okay, 219,000. 204,000. Okay, these are what? These are your taxable profit. So you find tax. Okay, tax is 30%. 30% tax. What is tax? 30% tax will be definitely here nil. 30% tax of 164,000. 30% of it will give you 49,200, and 30% of 154,000 times 30% will give you 46,200. 30% of 21,900, 219,000, I mean, times 30% will give you 65,700, and 30% of 204,000 will give you 61,200. These are the taxes. These are what? Taxes. Remember here, there's a catch here. You are using this tax. This is the requirement number 1. Okay, for requirement 1. For requirement 1, because tax is what? Paid in the same year. When tax is what? Tax is paid in the same year as profit. This is requirement number 1. So if tax is paid in the same year, then you deduct it in the same year. So let's proceed. Now, next you have your net cash flow, NCF. That's your net cash flow. What's your net cash flow? Is there anything there? You have what? Net cash flow. So you still bring your investment, 400,000. You bring your investment. Now, 164,000 minus tax, 49,200. You have 114,800. 114,800. Then you have 154,000 minus your tax, 46,200, to give you 107. 800, 107, 800. Then you have 219,000 minus tax, 65, 700, 65, 700. You have 15, 300 and 153,300, 300. Then you have next 204,000 minus 61,200 to give you 142,800. 142,800. Your discounting factor, what's your DF? Your DF will be 10%. Always at year zero, discounting factor is what? 1, 0.909 at that particular year, and year 2 will be 0.826. Year 3 will be 0.751. Year 4 will be 0.683. That will be year 4 discounting factor. Okay, year 4 what? Discounting factor. That will be what? Year 4 discounting factor. Haven't got year 4 discounting factor, what do you do next? You find your present value. Okay, so it will be your PV. This one will be 400,000 to be your PV. So now 114,800 multiplied by 0.909. This one will give you 104. You have 104, 104, 353, 107, 800 times 0.826 to give you 89, 04043. Another one 15, 300, 15, 300 will give you 115, 115, 128. And lastly 142, 800 multiplied by 0.683 will give you 97, 97, 532. Okay, 97,532. So your NPV will be 6056 positive. So accept the project 6056. What do? You accept the project. You accept the project. So you accept the project. Now, remember, in doing your B, remember, do this one. And doing your B, remember, the B part of the question is saying the B part of the question is saying if tax is paid 1 year in arrears or two. It's saying tax is paid 1 year in arrears. So all you need to do, you bring your taxable profit. Remember, you have your years here again. Starting with year 0, you have 2. Year 0, you have year 1. From year 0, you have what? Year 1, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and come year 5. Okay? Come to year 5. Come to what? Year 5. So let's see what will happen. Come to year 5. So you come to year 5. Okay. What is your taxable profit? Okay. At year 0, you still have your 400,000. So you bring them. So it's year 1, it's 154. Year 1 is 164,000. Year 2 is 154,000. Year 3 is 219,000. Year 4 is 204,000. Good. These are your taxable profits. Okay. So tax is paid 1 year in arrears. If tax is paid 1 year in arrears, I mean the 30% we calculated, which is 49,200, was not paid in year 1. We took it to year 2. Okay, 49,200. It was paid in year 2, and that one we calculated. The one we calculated for year 2 was not paid in year 2. The one that we calculated, the tax that we calculated for year 2, this one will be paid here. This one will be paid next. Okay, so keep that in mind. So for year 2, it was 46,200. For year 2, it was 46,200. For year 3, 65,700. Now, remember, one that was paid in year 4, we took it to year 5 because it's in arrears. So if it is in arrears, we have 61,200. Yes. So now these are your taxable profits, and you less your tax. So tax was 30%. 30%. So now, what's your next step? Your next step is to come and find your Your next step is to come and find your net cash flow, NCF. So you bring your investment still 400,000, and year one we have 164,000. So the tax is now going to be taken from year 2 to year 5. So year 5, remember, year 5 without delay, you bring 161,200 already. So year 2, 154,000, you less 49,200 to give you 33,800. And year 4, 119,000. Year 3, 119,000 minus 46,200 to give you 172,800. And year 4, it will give you 138,300. This is what it will give to you. So from your net cash flow now, you have your discounting factor, which is 10%. At 1 is still, you bring 0.909. The next one is 0.826. The next one is 0.751. The next one is 0.683. And you go to year 5, your discounting factor for year 5 will be, what will be your discounting factor for year 5? Discounting factor for year 5 will be discounting factor for year 5 will be year 5 10% will be 0.621. 0.621. 0.621. Those will be your discounting factors. Those will be what? Your discounting factors. Those will be your discounting factors. Now you have your present values. So it's a PV. What will be your PV here? It will be 400,000 still. Get that one. 164. 164,000. You discount it to give you 149,000 and 149,076. The next one, remember this one should be 154,000 minus 49,200. 154,000 minus 49,200. Yes, this is a mistake. Kindly take this one off. This is a mistake. Take this one off here. It's even odd. This is a mistake. Just stay tight. So this, it should be 104. 104,800. Okay, 104,800. So yes, 104,800 multiplied by 0.826. So will give you 86,565 5. About 172,800 multiplied by what's the discounting factor? 0.751 to give you 129,773. About 138,300 multiplied by 60, 0.683, 0.683 to give you 94,450, 59,000, and lastly 61,200 multiplied by 0.621 to give you 38,005. This is what. So now your NPV. Your NPV will be written as 21,868. So thank you for today's class. So in our next class, we will be looking at some other aspects. Thank you for your time. Thank you for thank you for today's class. In our next class, we'll be looking at some other aspects and solving more questions and looking at different techniques.